Oceanic Flight 815, you are clear for takeoff. TWA 11, continue approach, bear right to 315. Cessna 03, what the hell are you doing? Veer off, you're in restricted airspace.
Hey, and welcome to Making FX. Not since pushing tin has air traffic control seemed so tense. While this might seem an odd choice for a VFX tutorial for a channel that mainly focuses on either space stuff or how to round rectangles, creating computer displays is actually a pretty good way to learn about a few, sometimes not considered, features of After Effects. It's also good practice recreating interfaces for computers, as quite often you'll need to make these for your own productions. In this video, we are going to make an aircraft as an essential graphic, bring this into a display comp, link it to a 3D null object and fly it around the screen. We'll add some decoration like storm clouds, and then we'll use the Posterize Time effect to stutter the display, so it feels more like the real world. I've based a lot of the look off screenshots from a website called Flight Training Central, but like I said, the techniques I'm showing you could be applied to any interface. Here I am in AE with an HD comp at 30 frames a second. First, let's create a null object to link everything to. Go to Layer, New, Null Object. Hit Enter and rename this to Aircraft Null. And then go to Effect, Expression Controls, Point Control. Rename this to 2D, and set the value to 960 by 540. Now go back to Effect, Expression Controls, and this time select Slider Control, and rename this to Altitude. Now, expand the object on the timeline until you can see both the effect's properties and the position property. Then use the pick whip to link the position to the 2D point. The reason we're doing this is because Essential Graphics can't link a layer's position directly, but it can use a point control. So when we use this comp as an essential graphic, we'll be able to control the position of the null from the main comp. And just before we finish here, with the null still selected, go to Layer, Transform, Auto Orient, and choose Orient Along Path. Okay, next, make sure the null is no longer selected. Then select the Rectangle tool and draw a small square. This should create a shape layer. Hit Enter and rename this layer to Aircraft. Expand the rectangle on the timeline. Select and delete the fill layer. Expand the layer's transform and set the anchor point to 0 and the position to 960 by 540. Expand transform rectangle and 0 out the position, so it's in the center of the comp. And then set the rotation to 45 degrees. This produces our aircraft location diamond. I went with a rectangle size of 15, which seems really small, but that matches up to the screenshots I've seen. Last thing for this layer, click on the top of it and hit P to expose the position keyframes, and do the same for the null layer. Then use the shape layer's pick whip to link its position to the null's position. This is, in effect, parenting by expression, but it has one major advantage. When the null object rotates, our diamond rectangle remains in the same orientation. Next, select the Type tool and type your aircraft's name. This is a placeholder. The Essential Graphics will set this. Now for the font. We want something computery. I went with MS Reference Sans Serif. It's an included Microsoft font. Apple users, I'm sure you can find something similar. I think I went down a rabbit hole on Microsoft's website to pick this one. And if you use the all caps option, it's handy for not having to remember later on. Position the name somewhere above the rectangle off to the right, and rename this text layer to Name. Next, create another text layer for the ground speed, and another for the altitude, and position them both so they fit under the plane's name. Make sure all the text layers are left aligned. And parent the speed and altitude layers to the plane name, either using the pick whip or the parenting dropdown, and then parent the name layer to the aircraft shape layer. Using the pen tool with no layer selected, draw a line linking the name to the rectangle. This is just mimicking the interface. And parent that to the aircraft shape too. Next, here's a cute use of an expression you might not have seen before. we're going to create a shape whose size is controlled by the speed the layer is moving at. With no layer selected, draw a small rectangle. Make it a child of aircraft null and zero out all the anchors and positions. Except for the layer's X position, set that to -50. Delete the fill effect and rename the layer to Direction. Vector would probably be a better name, but it's not like I know what I'm talking about. Make sure you can see the aircraft null's position property in the timeline, and then expand the rectangle's values until you can see the size. Now, hold Alt and click on the size stopwatch, and then type left square bracket, or open brace if you want to sound like you know this stuff at least. And then use the pick whip to link to the null's position. And then type .speed, 1, close right bracket. Transform.position.speed produces for us a value of the null object. And by setting the width property to that, with the height set to 1, we get a line which increases as the null layer speeds up. How cool is that? Alright, not cool exactly, but then you are watching a tutorial on making an ATC display in After Effects, so I think it's safe to admit it's kinda cool to us, yeah? Its rotation will be taken care of when the null rotates. You do have to trust me for the moment. As soon as we start treating this as an essential graphic, it all becomes clear. One last thing for this layer, we need to alter the line's position so that it stays as the leading edge. Again, trust me, but hold Alt and click on the position stopwatch. Open a left square bracket, or brace, and use the pick whip to link to the size's width. 0, close brace. So as the width increases, the line will move further to the right. Almost done, but we also want to control the speed and altitude's text values automatically. Expand the altitude text layer until you can see the source text, and making sure you can see the null layer's position, hold Alt and click on the source text stopwatch and type 1080, the height of the comp, minus math.floor brackets, so we'll keep our result to round numbers, and use the pick whip to link to the null's altitude slider, close brackets. And for the speed layer, set an expression that is math.floor brackets and pick whip the whole of the null's position, .speed, close brackets. Okay, almost done, but let's give everything a uniform computer green. Go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and then go to Effect, Color Correction, Fill. And I chose 66FF00 for that slightly retro but it will cost too much to replace a vital system vibe. After the ad break, yes I know, I finally learned how to place ad breaks. After that short but skippable section, we'll get to fly some planes. And we're back! Go to Window, Essential Graphics, and in the panel that opens, using the primary drop-down, select your aircraft comp. Ignore all the other comps in here. I said ignore them, they're practice comps and nothing to do with anything. Expand the name layer on the timeline until you can see the source text. Then drag this into the pop-up panel. And now from the null layer, drag in the 2D and altitude values. In a new comp, drag in your aircraft comp, and expand its properties on the timeline. Right-click on the name property and name your aeroplane. I'm calling mine Gertie, in honour of the awesome BBC radio series Cabin Pressure. If you've not listened to that comedy starring Benedict Cumberbatch, then you're welcome. I've just enriched your life. And if you have, post in the comments the name of Arthur's driving game, which you're always playing. What we now have is a comp all ready to start flying our aircraft in, and because AE has 3D space, and we've been clever enough to link our coordinates, we can make use of that 3D space. Create a new null object and call it plane null 1. That's assuming you'll add more aircraft. Make it a 3D object, and to attach it to our EG precomp, select that and go to Effect, Expression Controls, Layer Control, and use the drop-down to select plane null 1. Now, expand the precomp back to Essential Graphics, and on the 2D property, use the pick whip to select the layer control, and then type .2comp brackets square brackets 0, 0, 0, close all brackets. And then on the altitude property, pick whip the layer and then type dot transform dot position square brackets 1. And so now I can animate the null object in 3D space, with the bottom of the comp being the ground, and treat it like an aircraft. And the label, thanks to the toComp expression, not only remains attached, despite being 2D, but also the altitude display is set by the Y value. And I use the layer control to mean that I can now duplicate both the EG precomp and the null layer, and I only have to swap this value to link the expressions to that new null. Pretty cool, yeah? Okay, now it's all set dressing. First off, let's create a camera to look down on all the events. Layer, new camera. Make it a 2-node camera and click OK. Then expand the transform properties on the timeline and set the Y value position to -2000 pixels, and set the Z value to 0. Then, with no layers selected, use the rectangle tool to draw a runway. Keep it in 2D, and then use various straight line options to draw flight routes, markers, and so on. You may as well keep all of these on the same shape layer, deleting the fill each time. And in the stroke options, use the dashes to set them to sort of match the screenshots I've flashed up from Flight Training Central. To add some storm clouds, create a new solid. Then go to Effect, Noise and Grain, Fractal Noise. Set the contrast quite high, say 280, and drop the brightness to -60. Expand Transform and up the scale to 2000. Then you probably want to use the offset to move any noise off center. And you can keyframe the offset and evolution if you want to imply changing weather, but I'd go subtle with it. Now go to Effect, Simulation, CC Ball Action. Everything sort of disappears. That's because CC Ball Action responds to the camera, and as we're looking down we see the top edge. So if the rotation axis is set to the default of x-axis, set the rotation to -90, and set the ball size to 40. Then drag the layer to the bottom of the comp so it doesn't obscure any of the information displayed. And now just keep adding aircraft. If you don't want to animate each one, there's nothing stopping you using large wiggle amounts on the null layer's positions. And once you're relatively happy with your animation, go to the project panel and drag the whole comp onto the new comp button. And then go to Effect, Time, Posterize Time, and drop the frame rate to 2. This effect is often used to change the frame rate of footage. For example, if you have something shot at 60 frames per second, you can use Posterize Time to make it look more like film by setting the value to 24 FPS. But for displays like this, we can use it to show only 2 frames per second, creating that real-world display vibe. And that's it! Creating an ATC display entirely in After Effects. And all that's left to do is make a quick announcement. Arthur, the lemon is in play.